Springtime brings indoor cleaning and outdoor cleanup. Now is a perfect time to think about protecting your home when temperatures heat up and there is a danger of wildfires. The National Fire Protection Association has a program called FireWise. They make it easy with a checklist of things to do to make your home safer. Today I'm at the Brennan Fire Department. My friend Jerry Rule is a firefighter and an AEMT. He's going to give us some helpful information to keep your family safe as well as your home. He's also going to talk to you about things you can do to keep emergency professionals safe while on your property.
Good morning, my name is Jerry Rule. I'm a firefighter and advanced EMT with the Brennan Fire Department. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about FireWise, access with our apparatus, and some of the different equipment that we have, as well as I'm going to talk a little bit maybe our tactics. Do you understand when you see firefighters showing up, they might not be pulling hose lines immediately, they're evaluating and sizing up the scene. So those are some things we're going to talk about today. So what typically happens when we get a call, there'll be a sound at the station, our alarm tones, and we'll get an address for the call. Depending on the season, typically spring and summer we get a lot of wildfires. We want to get access. So the start of that, we'll write down the address, we'll look at our map systems, and we'll confirm the location. So we're going to the correct location. And part of that is figuring out the intelligence on how many houses we have around, what type of structure we might be going to. And then the equipment we're going to wear, we wouldn't typically wear our bunker gear, and you can take a look at that in a little while. We would wear lighter weight wildland protective equipment, so we're a little bit more mobile in dealing with the heat stressors of the job. That would be the normal start to a call for us. So once we have those intelligence, we know the route we're going to go, our access and our egress points. We would get in our apparatus with our equipment, and we would respond with the appropriate apparatus. Probably our fire engine, which is off to my right, and then our brush truck, which is behind me, brush 41, would go as well. So when we're responding, as we approach the address, some things that we're looking for. We typically, in our department, get out and do some pre-fires, pre-road surveys for training. That's how we get driver's training. When you see us out in the community, we're typically training. But when we're responding to a call and we approach the address, we're going to slow down. It gets very dark out here in the hills, so we're coming in slow. We've got a lot of lights that are distracting us. And the things we're looking for is the road access. Is the road wide enough? Is there branches that are low hanging that we ask you to clear? We actually have a program here that we're happy to come out and help you with. Also, the things we're looking for is deep ditches and power lines, utility boxes. Most of our apparatus here at the Brennan Fire have some pretty good turning radius, but some of the other apparatus that will be coming with us may not have the best turning radius. So we want to make sure we can access with that equipment. So having your roads clear, branches clear, and then bridges. The other thing is bridges. They have to be rated bridges, or you will not see the fire service bringing fire trucks across bridges unless they are appropriately documented and for the appropriate weights.
And how does someone, I know you'll probably get into this more later, Jerry, but how does someone get a bridge rated a bridge?
So working with the county, so even though it's a private road, you can contact the county administrators and they can give you direction. Typically, you will need an engineer to come out and size up the bridge and make sure it meets standards. They have various tests they do for that. That is definitely in their wheelhouse, but contacting Jefferson County, Mason, whichever county you're with, and getting some directions, even if it is on a private road, they can get you pointed in the right direction for those resources. So we're approaching the scene now. We're coming up the driveway. It's clear. We've got good access up the driveway. And as we approach your home, a couple things we're looking for. One, what type of fire? Is this a structure fire that could spread to the wildland, or is it a wildland fire that's spreading towards the structures? That generally will dictate our tactics. So are we going to be in structural gear, or are we going to be in wildland gear? We don't want either of them to commingle. We want to capture them and put the wildfire out, or keep the structure fire down to a minimum and from spreading. Now, the good news about this is we have mutual aid with our surrounding departments, so we'll have other departments such as Quilcene to the north of us, Mason County 17 to the south of us, and other districts, as well as during fire season, we'll have the Department of Natural Resources as well as U.S. Forest Service that have crews on that will also be attached to the call and would respond with us to help us with tactics to give us some staffing. So as we approach the house, the things we're looking for at your house is, do we have access? Can we get our apparatus? Can we turn our apparatus around? You will see us generally take the time when it's a wildfire to turn our apparatus around as part of our tactics so we can get out quickly as wildfire can explode. and we only have limited resources to put that fire out. So we'll take the time to turn it around. You may see somebody like myself get off the apparatus, walk around the house. Things we're looking for is, do we have good access to the house?
Move any flammable material away from wall exteriors, such as mulch, leaves, firewood, etc.
Is there debris around it? Is there ladder fuel? And what that means is grass to brush to timber right up against the house. That's going to make it hard to defend your house. And these are things that we ask that we'll talk about with defensible space. And you need to have some clearing around your house so we can get in and bring in hose lines and defend your house if there's a wildfire approaching.
Firewise puts out a pamphlet that you can get at your local fire department. The items on this checklist to begin with are clean your roofs and gutters of dead leaves, pine needles, and debris, anything that would be dry and could catch on fire. So
with that being said, we've done a size up your house. Things I'm looking for is I'm looking at the roof. Is it heavily covered or is it a clean roof? Is your gutters clean?
Enclose under eaves and soffit vents with screen mesh. Cover attic vents with wire mesh no more than 1/8 in size.
All the holes at the basement and all the appropriate netting around all the holes to keep rodents out and to keep debris from getting in there.
Replace or repair any loose or missing shingles or roof tiles.
A lot of times it doesn't take much than an ember to get in the actual gutters if they're covered in pine needles, and that's really where the fire starts. It's in the gutter and spreads up under the roof. And that's really hard for us to fight, especially when we're defending multiple houses or trying to contain a wildfire with limited resources. So a few other things that we're looking at when we're looking at your house. One, are you gone? We do not want you there when we are trying to protect your house, trying to put the fire out. It adds risk to us because now we have to refocus to life safety. That's our number one goal in the fire service, is life safety. We may stabilize the incident, we may try to do property conservation, but the top one on our list is life safety. So we want the residents to leave. That does a couple things for us. It makes sure that we got good access egress for other apparatus coming in, and that we know we don't have a rescue problem. So once you're out and we've looked at your house, you've got good defensible space, we'll adjust our apparatus, we'll pull out a hose line. We might do some other work. We might cut some brush and kind of clear out some other areas around some of the other shops, clean it up. But if we have to come in and do 100% work, it's a pretty hard house to defend. And those are some things that's why we do these programs, Firewise, and we come out, look through your local departments, will come out, take a look at your place and kind of give you some suggestions, and it'll be on the homeowner to get that. And that's why we're trying to give you resources today, and we'll look at some of those.
I didn't realize that a fire department would come out, so a person could just call their local fire department and tell them that they'd like to have a survey done in regards to Firewise, and someone will come out and actually walk around with the homeowner and kind of point out items that they could improve on.
So it varies depending on the department and staffing level. Here at Brennan Fire, we're pretty lucky. We're being very progressive with our systems, and we like to get out and do public education. That's just not with medical public education. That's fire as well. So we'll come out, we'll bring a pamphlet, we'll schedule that, and we'll spend some time with you just kind of looking. That is a couple things. It's great interface with our citizens, and it gives us a chance to look at your structure. So not only from a fire standpoint, if you had a medical emergency, we've already been there. Some of our people have been there. They're familiar with your road. We know how we can get you in and out of your house. We know how to defend your house a little better. Now, in our area, we have a large area to protect. We do things called pre-fire plans, and we do that mainly for commercial structures, but we do that for areas as well. So let's say you have a community. We have like a community map. Where do we get our water at? Do you have hydrants? Do you have swimming pools we can pull water from? Do you have extra water? Where are the hazards, hazmat, on your property? These are some other things that I'm looking at when I'm doing what's called a size up. And I'm looking for, is there a lot of hazardous material? Is there a lot of broken down cars? Is there a lot of things that are going to hurt our folks and make it hard to defend your property? So we'll spend a few more minutes talking about the house. Things that we're looking at, we want to get a good 360 of your house. And what that means is I want to be able to walk around your house and be able to look and bring ladders in to look at the gutters and that sort of thing without fighting A lot of people put wood up against their house over the under the overhang. You might have garbage cans. All those things can contribute to fire. So it doesn't take much of an embers to get in there and get that going when things are dry during the spring, summer, and even the fall. We saw fires go into November in Colorado. They just had a fire in late December in Colorado because of the dry conditions. So it can happen any time of the year. Our environment's changing. So specifically to your house, you're going to have concurrent circles. And some of your defensible space may be your gravel driveway. You clearing brush back. We like to have, and we'll put a link with this program, but to Firewise, and it'll give you very specific, but we like to have rings around the house. We like to have 60, 100-foot defensible space that things are cleared back. There's no ladder fuels. So you have some trees that are already limbed up. That way, if there's grass burning, it doesn't burn right up into the limbs, up into the tree. Take it vertical and spread the embers out. These are some concerning stuff for us. Also, what type of vegetation do you have? You have a lot of flashy fuels. Those are what we call 1-hour fuels. Those are your grasses and your twigs versus, 10-hour fuel, 100-hour fuel, thousands. Your 1,000-hour fuels are your big logs. Once those things get burning, they get anchored in, and it takes a lot of water and a lot of staffing time to put those out. And that's what really carries these big fires, is those 1,000-hour fuels. So a couple things we also want to talk about, going back to our access egress, is your addressing. Can we see it in the dark? That is the biggest thing. Can we see it in the daylight? Can we see it from each way we're coming from? So big, bright letters. The county has a good program specific to Jefferson County. You can contact them, and they have signs that are well labeled that the fire departments that are reflective. But if you make your own, do it with big, bright letters and numbers of your address. Those are some things we want to watch out for. So you've called us, say it's a house fire. If it's a house fire, we're going to treat it like any other call. We're going to show up, make sure the people are out, and start fighting the structure fire. If it's a wildland fire, and the season's getting hotter and drier and those sort of things, and we're starting to get fires in the area, these are things you have some time to prepare for. We can prepare for structure fires as well, obviously, right? Have extinguishers in our house, do good cleaning of the chimneys, all those sort of things. But wildfires, there's a couple different pamphlets out there, and this is one we'll link with you, but it's called Ready, Set, Go. The ready part, and it's a pretty thick packet, it's about 12 pages, but very informative. The ready part is the part that you can do right now. Pre-season, post-season, throughout the year, and that's some of the things we talked about, from access egress. Also, it's making a list of your priority items that if we say we need you to be ready and you need to be set means you went to your priority checklist. I have all my medications, I have all my legal documents, I have anything that's super valuable for the family, and all of that stuff is boxed up, ready to go. So if we tell you to set, that means you might as well get that loaded in your car. There's fires in the area. Maybe it's a large wildfire that's moving towards your structures. And we have wildland firefighters, structural firefighters that will come in on order from the incident management teams and start prepping 2 or 3 days out. We could be 5-10 miles ahead of the fire, clearing that area. So that's that set phase. And at that point, we're asking you to leave. So at that point, we're asking you to get ready to get out and go find new shelter so we can get in and do good work at your house and prep. And then the last one is go. So that's when you'll get the public information officers from the teams. You'll hear it on the news. Maybe emergency broadcasting networks will send out a notice to leave the area because the wildfire is imminent. So when the public information officers talk about needing to evacuate, that will happen several different ways. News media, radio, you could get a notice on your phone, such as similar to an Amber Alert. It's a notice just like severe weather concept. Wildfire is imminent in your area, please evacuate. That's the go phase. We need you to get out. There's nothing you're going to do with your garden hose except slow the progress of us getting down and getting into your area. So you can set up your garden hose and put up sprinklers and that's no problem. But you do not need to be there to manage that. We need you to leave. It puts all the rescuers at risk to get in and to take care of your house. So it'd be appropriate for you to leave. So a few more things that we're looking for at your house is Do you have your utility boxes? Where are those at? Is there any underground septic system? Having those marked is really front-loading some information for us. So maybe having a diagram of your house on how things are laid out. Here's my shed. I have hazardous materials in here. This is some information you can give responding fire department members, maybe Forest Service, Department of Natural Resources, hazards on your property. Hey, here's where the septic system's at. Hey, I have a swimming pool back here. I have a 20,000-gallon water tank that's our self-sufficient tank. Just resources to help defend your house will definitely add to the protection value and our ability to get in and try to save the house and stop the fire. So well-marked areas, we don't want to get any of our people hurt. So the more information that you can give us when we arrive, it's nothing that you necessarily need to post on your garage that you have hazardous materials for the public to see, but the responders coming in at your private property, we would definitely like to know that, because now we're being put at risk to defend and to rescue folks. So that kind of information would be super helpful to us. So tactically, when we're at your house, fire's coming, some things we may do. We may use chainsaws to go ahead and open up some more areas. We may take some hand tools, scratch what we call a fire line around your house. And then there are some other items. This is called a drip torch. Sometimes we'll actually put fire on the ground to defend your house. So the concept would be burning out around. We'd put a defensible space in. We would go ahead and dig a fire line, and we would use control methods to put fire on the ground to build a bigger fire line. So burning that fuel out between the main fire coming and the house and the fire line gives less of a run of the brush and the fire at your house, along with using your sprinkler system, having some of our hose lines out to defend until that fire is completely burned away and we have black line, basically a black fire line of burned material around your house. It may not be super pretty, but if everything goes right, the wind plays a good role in it, you'll have your house standing. So those are some tactics. I get a lot of questions sometimes. If there's so much fire out there, why are you guys putting more fire on the ground? And that's usually a critical decision-making process. We have a book called the IRPG, and this is it has lots of different tactics and things for us to refer to in it. And when we're doing what's called firing operations or backfiring, there's several check boxes we need to meet. Is the wind in our favor? Meaning, is the wind blowing back to the main fire? So if we start a fire, we can burn it from our location back to the main fire, taking away fuel. So lots of different check boxes. This little book here drives our tactics. Lots of information from first aid stuff, safety stuff, helicopter operations, and that sort of thing. And that's some other things that you're going to see. That's the other reason we want you out of the area, is we're going to bring aviation in. And I need to be able to account for all my firefighters, or the Forest Service or Department of Natural Resources need to account for their people. When we're bringing in the very large air tankers, helicopter operations, depending on the size of those aircraft is the load that they'll carry. A typical Type 2 helicopter is going to carry about 300 gallons of water at 8 pounds a gallon. And if that fell on your head or near you, it's going to snap branches on trees. It could break bones, that sort of thing. The air tankers, some of those air tankers are carrying 3,000+ gallons of retardant. And that's, you'll see that red retardant that will lay in with the airplanes as the fire's coming at the houses. We need citizens out of there. And, you know, we'll be communicating on all our fancy radios and that sort of stuff, talking to the aircraft, bring them in. So a lot of the stuff we do may not be what you're normally used to seeing from your regular fire department of just putting hose lines out and putting the fire out very easy. These fires can burn for months. I've rotated back to fires in the past, I don't know, 3-4 times to the same fire that's went on for months, just because they're out of staffing or the fire is so ingrained. So those are some concepts. That's some other reasons you need to be out of there, just to make it a little safer for everybody. So you'll see us in different types of clothing. Normally we wear our bunker gear here for structural firefighting. Pretty heavy stuff to be wearing on wildfires. If it's just a small fire in the ditch or something, you may see us come out early season, late season. But typically what you're going to see is you're going to see us in this type of clothing. This is a Nomex Kevlar material, Nomex shirts, and some lighter weight helmets here. This allows us to work longer. The equipment's a little bit lighter than this heavy material. And then you'll see a backpack on us. Typically, there's lots of different configurations. This is a Mystery Ranch pack, and this pack carries my fire shelter that I have to have with me. It carries extra fusees if we got to do some burnout operations. It carries medical equipment. It will carry all sorts of information stuff, a GPS, compass, my IRPG. I have a weather meter here. This is how I can take weather. These tools are very expensive, so we take very good care of them. This tool here, about $500–600, depending on the meter. And now we're getting into more tools as well, as like using iPads. So we have GPS programs. We can drop pin marks on where the fire's at, track progression. I can use Google Maps, and then I can download that information to the incoming incident command team, because I may be the incident commander now, and I've ordered a bigger team because I know this fire is going to last for a while. So you're going to see us in different types of equipment. From a fire department standpoint, you'll see us out there on apparatus, and you'll see us in different equipment, and that's your tax dollars at work. We're doing that so we can be more efficient with our folks, and they can get in and be very aggressive to put those fires out and to do rescues and medical aid. So we'll talk fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers you have in your house no matter what. Typically your ABC fire extinguisher. Class A fire is typically like wood, organic material. Class B is going to be your flammable liquids, gasoline. Class C is typically electrical, so you get plug-in, sparking, or whatever. It'll be electrical fire. And then Class D are reactive metals. And there's Class K fires, which are like kitchen fires, your oils and stuff, and those have specific fire extinguishers. Most people are going to have an ABC fire extinguisher in their house. A couple things you want to do: make sure the pin's on there. And the other thing is, let's look at the gauge here. This one is one of our out-of-service ones due to get checked. So you can see it's in the red. So typically what will happen is we'll have somebody come in and service all our stuff once a year. There's fire extinguisher companies out there will service them. There are various sizes of extinguishers. We typically have our service once a year. So looking at the different gauges here, what you're looking for is you want to see it's in the green. See that right there? Green to go. A couple things that we do is when we change our smoke detector batteries, we like to take our fire extinguishers, turn them upside down, take a rubber mallet, and just bang on them a little bit. And what you're doing is the powder in there, and shake it a little bit. You're just kind of mixing it up so it doesn't set at the bottom.
And again, for viewers, I want to say that's a rubber mallet.
Yeah, rubber mallet. Try to use a rubber mallet if you can, because you're hitting metal. But you'll do that with these ABC extinguishers because there's a powder in there. The next extinguisher is typical to fire departments. You can buy them as civilians. You just look them up. But they're basically water extinguishers. And what you can do is you unscrew the top here. It's got similar gauge, right? Green, red. If it's out of date there and needs to be recharged. But on these, the top screws, you unscrew this, you discharge all the material, you unscrew it, you fill the water up, pretty high. You got to follow the manufacturer's recommendations, but you leave a space, and then what you do is you charge it with an air hose. Per the manufacturer's recommendation, that gives it the pressure, so pressure extinguisher, and then you basically put the key back in with the zip tie, and now you have just a water extinguisher. So this would be something typical if you are out in this type of environment in Brennan, in the wildland, that you might want to have something that you can put out a little bit of a fire outside your house. These ABC extinguishers don't work the best for that because the agent, if the wind is blowing, it could blow the agent depending on how you deploy it. So with those organic materials, the sticks, the brush, the grass, you're going to want the water extinguishers. And then the third one, this is specific to wildland firefighters here, but this is a similar to this water extinguisher here. This is, you can put 5 gallons of water in here. And it's a backpack pump. It hooks in, and basically you can walk around and you can pump and basically extinguish the fire. So there's a lot of times we'll go to fires that are simply like beauty bark fires. The beauty bark is super dry. It reaches ignition temperature. It has maybe some glass particles from a broken glass or whatever. We'll start the beauty bark fires. A lot of people put beauty bark up against their house. If that gets going, it can burn under their house and actually start their house on fire. So some thought process about the material that you have against your house maybe think about a rockery or something, and then beauty bark. But just, pay attention to what we call ladder fuels. It starts somewhere and it works its way into the higher environment. So just some different extinguishers to look at today, and some thought process. The other thing is make sure you have a good water source at your house home. Make sure you got hoses, maybe one on each side of your house, so you can use those for extinguishers as well. And then a couple sprinklers. So if you were to leave the house, you could leave the sprinklers on, wetting down the house, the surrounding defensible space. So when we show up, we can already see that you're putting a lot of effort into to front loading the safety of your house. So some thought process with hoses, probably a good 100-foot hose on each side of your house with some sprinklers that you can Y off would be a good idea for some prepping. So one of the last things I want to talk about before we take a ride in the fire engine to show you some places access-wise is a emergency plan. So have an emergency plan. That's not just for wildfire, that's for earthquakes, that's for a little of everything. The snowstorm we just had, but specific to wildfire, have that emergency plan and have it so that you're contacting some of your relatives, letting them know you're okay. That way they're not trying to call in, it overwhelms the phone system. Part of that emergency plan is making sure you've got enough medications for yourself for 2 to 3 weeks. Your animals are taken care of, depending on what size animals you have. If you have horses or larger animals, make sure you're moving those. There's lots of groups out there that can come, rescue groups that can come help you with that. Some of those rescue groups work with incident management teams to get in and kind of front load, getting all the horses and cattle out and that. But your little ones too, your cats, your dogs, make sure you're taking care of them. And then again, any of your valuables, make sure you get those in that ready, set phase of that document that we talked about. So you're not wondering, did I get this, did I get that, and going back in for it.
So what vehicle is this that we're in, Jerry?
Engine 41, it's our new tactical tender engine down here in Brennan.
Here we go.
I'll just get a little drive time in so you can get a feel for what it looks like from the inside of the cab when we're approaching. Here's an example of a tree alongside the road. Super low, so we gotta try to get our apparatus around that stuff without getting these heavy rigs. This engine 41 carries 1,500 gallons of water plus all the other weight. It's pretty heavy. About Brennan is we go from the flat area along 101 and the water to almost straight up in the hills. So our apparatus, have a little bit of work ahead of them, and then we got hose beds. We got to take it real easy on them so we don't dump our hose beds. That's a real bad day. See how steep things get real fast here.
Wow, real fast. And do you guys have commercial driver's license to drive these rigs?
We fall under what's called EVIP, Emergency Vehicle Incident Prevention. It's a driver's program for emergency vehicles, so that we can drive all types of apparatus. I've driven everything all the way up to large ladder trucks, and it's a thing for sure. There's a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility. I have not been up here for a while, so what we're getting into. You see what I'm saying about the roads? This is actually a pretty good road here.
This is a good road.
Yeah, this is a good road. The brush is fairly cleared back. I can see people coming at me. I've got a little bit of room. Okay, here we go. branches here aren't too bad. Not too bad. We'll go up here and turn around. Trying to find a road that's not so good.
10-231 available, 1104.
That's a really nice, clearly marked address.
Yeah, that is perfect. That is great. Here's another one to the right. I'm actually going to turn around right here. So we can get a good look at this. And these are things we're looking at. We're not going to come right up to your house. We're going to park out here and we're going to come in and kind of look around before we do anything. So super, super important to kind of look at stuff. Yeah, super important. I think I got a better spot to turn around up here. Let me take a look.
I definitely wouldn't try to take my minivan up this road.
Now, look at all these things we're doing. Here's a really nice house back here, tucked back in. Probably got a good turnaround up here. We'll go up and sneak peek. Turn around too. Oh yeah, perfect. I'll let this car by behind me. Going there.
Okay, so I didn't show the house because I wanted to be respectful of people's privacy. So Jerry's done about a 6-point turn and I was holding my breath. These guys really, really put out an effort to get up these roads. I'm just starting to breathe a little bit normally. That was really crazy.
Woo, that was hairy.
Yeah, that was definitely tight.
Well, I can see why you want to back in the vehicles when you're responding to an emergency, so that
Yeah, that way if
if
the
you
fires...
have to, yeah.
See the wind whipping through here? This is just a normal day. We can get that wind, it'll start whipping on the fire and it can shift directions on us. So having apparatus pointed out, not having a lot of apparatus up here, you may see us stage some stuff down on the 101 or in a different location. You go, why are they just all sitting there while the fire's burning? Well, it's because we're only letting so many people up to do what we need to do at a time. It's very strategic. It's not very, that's the difference between structural firefighting and wildland. Is structural is you have one house to deal with, it's fairly contained, where the wildland is very vast and you have lots of different access, egress points. Throw in human factors, throw in environmental factors, size of the rigs. It's a lot to think about.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Paradise Love and Veggies. Extra special thanks to Brennan Fire Department and Jerry Rule for having us come down and talking to us about fire safety. I'm Samantha Janes. We'll see you next time.
'Cause I've got far to go.